Question, what is the reason why when someone visits a grave, do you place a little rock on it? I don't think this reason, this minhag is a obligatory reason, minhag. I don't think you have to do so, but definitely people do so. So it seems like I found two reasons that I saw. One reason is it's covered hames. What happens is when you go to a cemetery and you see stones on a grave, you right away wonder what's this grave? If someone just came in recently, and you go and you check it out who it is, and sometimes it's a hush of a person, and you say something nice about the person. So it ends up that this putting the stone gives some people more honor to the grave. Another reason that I saw people bring, it says Bechlal, that reading the things that are engraved, they're not the opposite of engraved. Things that are sticking out is bad, is kosher l'shichacha. So today, in our tombstones, the way it works, everything is engraved. But in the past, some of them were sticking out. And if somebody reads it, it could be bad for a bathroom and a ruchnistic away. So by putting this stone, whatever bad, negative things can happen, when you read it that way, the stone can protect. Those are two reasons. But to point out that flowers is not our custom. Flowers is not our minhag. It's a minhag goyim. There's a big tzaddik, a big chassid. His name is Rabbi Yaakov Mizrahi. Levi's great-grandfather, also Nachi's great-grandfather, and he was once by a levaya, and there were flowers over there, and he started yelling at them, and people thought, like, well, how do you do such a thing? Their relative died, but he said, no such thing. This is the Eish, this is the Torah. There's no room for any kind of enhagim of goyim. And he said, for the mess, for the person that passed away, for his honor, I want to protect him, and that's why he made sure to get rid of it. Yes. Still, if you see some have more stones, a lot of people visiting there. That's the Torah. That's fine, whatever, I'll manage. Question, should a bochur go on mivtzoim if we be looking at the wrong things? So when mivtzoim started, the Rebbe originally said that the bochur, there should be a supervision from hanhalah where bochur go, and the bochur should not be going to places which are problematic. Hechsher Bashkin likes to say, he remembers when he was a bochur, that when people would travel to the West Coast, it was forbidden to travel to Las Vegas. The Rebbe didn't allow. Even if you just have a stopover in Las Vegas, it was forbidden, even though you're just in the airport, because Las Vegas was known to be a place of pritzes. However, eventually, the Rebbe sent shluchim to Las Vegas. Now, it doesn't mean that you're allowed to chas v'shalom do pritzes to good things. But the point is that just because you're going with mivtzoim does not give you the rights or the permission to go to places which technically could be a problem. So basically, the answer would be a bochur should not go on mivtzoim to such places where there is a concern. However, there's many places where there aren't concerns, and the bochur should find the right place to go to mivtzoim where there aren't those kind of concerns. Yes.
I saw bochur in New York, they go to Times Square mivtzoim, but Times Square is full of princess.
Everybody has to speak to their personal mashpia, and everyone has to know their personal background. And it could be that just because everybody does it does not mean it's the right thing. When I was a bochur, I remember me and a couple of friends were asked to go to Atlantic City, and we all asked my mashpia, and my mashpia gave me specific guidelines what I should do there. And I listened to my mashpia, and my friends asked their mashpia, and they had different guidelines. So everyone has to ask. Some people, their guidelines are not to go to such places at all. Now they shouldn't go at all. Question, what's the problem with saying the bochur wrote the full name of, I asked for Yerideh, not for Halachic. Saying the name of Ha'ish. And in Hebrew we say his name is Yeshu, in English his name is Jesus. And that's a name which an assumption is it's forbidden to say. So the bochur wants to know why is it also to say his name and also the second name that's added to him. The answer is because it's forbidden to mention the name of Avodah Zarah. Names of Avodah Zarah are not allowed to be said, and because this person was made into Avodah Zarah, so therefore there's an opinion of many people claim it's forbidden to say his name. However, the Gemara writes you're allowed to say his name, because the Gemara says you're only not allowed to say names of Avodah Zarah if it's a Avodah Zarah, a separate entity. But it is a person that lives, is alive, and he has his own name. And then later he turns himself into Avodah Zarah, you're allowed to say his name. So Pari is not a good example, because anyway, any Avodah Zarah which is mentioned in Torah, you're allowed to say. So Pari, even if this rule wouldn't apply, you can say paroi. But regardless, he's an example. If there will be another person that makes himself into Avodah Zarah, if he has his personal name, like over here, it would be permitted to say it. So that's what the Gross says. The other place can say no, you're not allowed to say his name. It's Avodah Zarah, and therefore not. So what you should do is ask your personal rabbi. However, to point out, we'll take questions or comments in a moment. To point out that even those that say you're allowed to say his name, it depends on what context. If you're learning about it and you want to, tell people that this you could say his name, you can't say his name. I once heard a shir to Rabbi Kravitz. Rabbi Kravitz is, again, his first name is he lives in California. He's Jews for Judaism. He's a whole organization that will protect you. He used to be, apparently he was involved in the past in one of these missionary cults, and now he's there to help Jews that fell in over there. So he gave a shir, and he starts off by saying that the Gra says you're allowed to say, and he says the full name. And he says, and that's funny because we're not going to say his name, and you're going to say his name, and he has a whole thing about it. So apparently, that it seems like the halacha is you're allowed to, but for sure, but some say not. But in the context of swearing, it's definitely forbidden. So someone gets hurt and says, oh, and he says the name of Avayis, in that case, he's saying it as a way of a swear. In that case, it's for sure also, because you're saying the name of Avodah Zarah in that context, either to save yourself from it or whatever. I mean, don't think when they say these words, that's not the intention of the person. That's not how it is. In that case, it's for sure forbidden. But again, learning about the subject and saying those things is permitted. A lot of questions, one at a time. Moshe. What if it's used for something else? Nike is the name of a Greek Avodah Zarah. I don't know. I never heard of people not to say Nike. It is. It's a long thing. I mean, some people say you can't even say the names of the months, because the names of the months named after Avodah Zarah as well, and the names of the year also. It's a very big sugya, and Kanir, it's not as we're not so machmer for the most part. Yeah.
Latin America is a very popular name. I don't know, ask many guys.
Yeah, a lot of people. So in that case, that you're allowed to. Jesus, yeah, you can say it. Talking to that person, you can say his name. Yeah. Nimrod is mentioned in Torah. Whatever name is mentioned in Torah, you're allowed to say. That's what Gemara says clearly. When is Nimrod mentioned in Torah? You have to do chitas, catch up from the beginning of Bereshis, and then you'll have the answer to that question. All right. Yeah. Does the Rebbe talk about mentioning his name? I don't know. The Gemara mentions that. The Gemara says his name. His name was Yeshua Noitzer. Some say his real name his real name was Yeshua without a head. But they say that we always call him Yeshua in Hebrew. So they say Yeshua is a Shatevis. Yemach Shemoy V'Zichra. That's what we say it that way. Yeah. And if someone asks you, do you believe in whatever, then you can say, I don't believe. Yeah, in that context for sure. Yeah. And you're allowed, and probably it would be more simple to say, tell the person, I don't believe in Isa He's going to say, what? I'm not going to say what you're talking about. In him. Okay, depends of the context. Okay. This is a long Megillah over here. I'll read the whole thing. So if the bochur that's here, I try not to analyze handwritings, but chikitzer. Let's say someone came on time to every seder, and he was put on a special list of the bochurim with perfect shmiras asdarim, but the list wasn't put up for whatever reason, and now he doesn't get his reward. Can he go to the hanhalah and demand his reward, or can they say that since the list wasn't put up, he gets nothing? Keep in mind, the list was fully prepared but not printed yet. 2, every other month it was put up besides for this month. I don't know when this question came in, but in general, when hanhalah makes a promise or something or whatever it may be, you can always go over to hanhalah, and demanding is a heavy word. You should not be demanding. B'chlal, demanding is only when hanhalah could demand knossim, but you can't demand from hanhalah prizes. You should speak in a gentle way and ask, can I get what I earned? You can ask in a gentle way. Is this happening? If you're uncomfortable talking to the hanhalah directly who promised, you can come to me. I didn't make these promises, so it's not for me. You can ask an older bochur to come to hanhalah and discuss it. But in general, if you think that you deserve something, it's perfectly fine to go and ask, can I receive what I asked for, what I earned? Joke. In the Kodesiches Chelekal from Vayetze, it says that we should act like stones, move when Hashem tells us to move. So if later we are going to be in the Messianic age, are we now in the Stone Age? Question, why isn't Chabad into dancing like other types of Hasidim? So to clarify, those that are not familiar, there's a Hasidus called Breslev. The Hasidus of Breslev was founded by Rav Nachman of Breslev, a grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. And Rav Nachman of Breslev has a very big dogesh on Simcha. I don't know if Rav Nachman himself, I doubt he did this, but his followers today in Eretz Yisrael, they have this kind of, their mivtzoim is, they drive around with vans full of speakers, and they basically stop at the either middle of the highway, or they stop on the side of the road and just get up and just blast music and they dance, and they bring people, schlep people and dancing with them. And it's very cool, and it could be somewhat inspirational. People can feel excited. And the bochur apparently is asking, why in Chabad don't we do that? We don't do that in Chabad because in Chabad we're here to tell people to learn Torah and do mitzvahs. In general, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Now there are times where mitzad the Yom Tov, mitzad the excitement, we dance. The whole concept of setting a time for dancing is a bit strange. I know tonight we have set up dancing at 9 o'clock, which is again it's a bit strange because you should the shluchim deserve a round of applause all the time. Always. In many yeshivas, they have what they call other dancing, where they come to dance in honor of Chodesh Adar, and then just dancing in a Tesvavelu, Chadaram. All these kind of dancings is, in my humble opinion, strange, because you dance when there's a reason to dance. And there's a reason to dance because you're happy. When you go to a chasana and the chazan comes in, there's a happiness, there's an excitement, you dance. There's a bar mitzvah, you can also, there's an element of simcha. But when you're standing around regularly and someone, oh, there's dance, let's go dancing up in hechsher. What are you dancing for? So if someone, by a fabrengen, there used to be a minhag by Lubavitchers, unfortunately, my mashpim never did it, but many mashpim did it and do it till today, that the fabrengen finishes with a dance. They fabrengen till 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and when they're done, they get up and they dance, and that's how the fabrengen ends. And it was like a very big deal. Chassidim would go into the Rebbe to Yechidus, they would come out, and they were so happy they would dance. So there were times that it wasn't stam, it was behemshech to something. Here, like in Crown Heights, you have people, they go to work a whole day, they're doing what they have to do, they come home from work, they say, it's upper, okay, I'm going to dance now. What are you dancing? 7 years dancing now. What are you dancing for? For what? For Chodesh Adar. What does that mean? What are you happy about Chodesh Adar? Again, it's a bit strange. It happens all over the world, but it's a bit strange. The Rebbe did encourage it, apparently. There's a lot of politics about this. It's a very because apparently, and bochur they wrote to the Rebbe that they're getting making dancing in 770 in Tafshin and Beis, and they apparently got an answer from the Rebbe, but some say it was a not legitimate answer. It gets it's a very, very gray conversation. Not important all the details. It gets very gray and uncomfortable. The bottom line is in Seichel, it doesn't make so much sense. So in Chabad, so at the end of the day, we do have it. Again, it happens, Chadaram, Yizdal Kislev, and then Chodesh Adar. It's not like it's a bad thing. If it was something wrong and bad, then yeshivas wouldn't allow it. But if a bochur basically, as I put it this way, if a bochur is sitting and learning a sikha in one room, and there's dancing in the other room, so I wouldn't tell the bochur, close the sikha and go dance. You're learning now, so adrabah. A bochur is anyway sitting and playing cards. Bochur is one that's the talking, or he's, I don't know, whatever he's just going for a walk. And adrabah, come and play and dance. There's another technical element. A lot of bochum have tons of energy, and many bochum gym is not enough for them, even if they'll have 4 hours of gym. So another opportunity to let out some energies in a relatively positive way. But is it really besimcha? You're dancing. You're really happy right now. So that's it. We're not into that. It's a chitzenistic thing. Another very important thing to point out is that when this dancing happens, it's not allowed to be with mashka. Even though by many bochum dancing equals mashka, and in 770 I remember as a bochur, whenever there was other dancing, there was a guy standing with a bottle and giving every person that's completely wrong. That's mamish, in my opinion, that's treif. That I stop if I see it, because that's mamish a bar, ma'kesher. You're drinking and dancing. That's mamish goyishkeit. That's 100% wrong in my opinion. You want to dance, what are you dancing about? Because you drank, and you're a goy. The goyim dance when they drink. You're dancing because you're a yid, because you learn Torah, you put on film today, you said a bracha today, you're connected to Hashem. That's where the dancing is coming from, Adar dancing. It's Chodesh Adar. Hashem says to be besimcha. The doubt is the Rebbe's chasana today, so I want to be besimcha. But dance because you drank, that's treif mamish, that's mamish goyishkeit. I think it's 100% wrong. That should not be done. All right, here the attacks begin. Yeah. Yeah, there was a number of stories where over the Rebbe didn't say there should be dancing, but the Rebbe apparently expected it. The David Raskin episode was a Maisa. The Rebbe asked, wasn't there dancing? Why wasn't there dancing? Something like that, yeah. But to interpret that as a hero, that there has to be dancing, I think is lav dafka. And how much dancing, and how long for the dancing, and what kind of dancing. It's not Shulchan Aruch, you know, that you have a lulav and esrog, you have 3 of dancing, and 2 of others. It's very, here it's like very, very, very incredible. So I can dance, I'm all I can dance, I learned the Gemara, and I said, yeah, geschmack, and the dance is right, it's also good. What's the problem? There's no rules. Some Chassidut is anders, you dance with a close safer, but Tamazay, let me dance in the middle of davening also. I can say, I had to know how you school, but why not also be dancing? Yes, Mike. And the Yom Tov, there's a mitzvah to be v'samachta b'chaber. The mitzvah of order to be samech b'order is not on the same level. On Cholamoid, you have to drink a cup of wine every day. It's part of the simcha. There's no mitzvah in our Torah to be b'simcha and pray b'shoder. Not a mitzvah b'avodah. It's an inig that you're supposed to do. But the simcha doesn't have to express itself necessarily in dancing.
I remember the story where there's someone drinking on there and all the events are like he's actually right to go.
There's billions of stories, and whatever I say, you can bring 10 stories to prove me wrong. But I can bring some stories to prove me right. Everything has to be interpreted. The concept is what I'm sharing what my opinion is. Listen, Q&A is to me. I'm the one answering what I feel. You ask many?
So I thought it's like good to do simcha, like even randomly.
It's good to be besimcha, but what does simcha mean? If you drink and dance, you're not besimcha. You're a drunken god. If a person's really besimcha, he can dance. But why are you besimcha? From what are you besimcha? That makes you besimcha. Then adrabah. I mean, my grandfather's diary came out recently. It's very strange, but apparently, the Rebbe asked the doctors a couple of times, can I dance? Like, am I healthy enough to start dancing? And then the Rebbe said, but it's time dancing is crazy. You're not going to dance randomly. But I want to know, am I healthy enough to dance? Something like that. So, yeah, there's a concept of dancing. But it has to be in the right context. So, some people, every day after dancing, you go dance around the bima. What are you dancing for? What's that all about? Where's it coming from? Map shop. You have to be besimcha, so dance before. There's no rules in these things. It's odd.
So what about dancing
That, oh my gosh. Okay, so many. When I was a bochur in yeshiva, so I was in Kiryat Gat, so from the beginning, I just spoke about it in class today. In the past, in Chabad shuls, they didn't sing by the Chadoidi, let alone dance. The minig was the Rebbe says there's a niggin. How you say the Chadoidi? You know the niggin of Chadoidi? The Rebbe's niggin. Lom niggin. Huh? No, Levi. Lechadoidi likras kalok nishabes nekavlo shomei v'zocher b'diburach bochur. It's a whole nusach that you're supposed to do, and that's how it's done. And I mean, shows today that's done as well. Then the Rebbe is adding in simcha all the time. So now that it's by davening, you want to dance. By davening, you want to sing because it's davening. So you're excited. You're davening to Hashem. It still wasn't dancing. When I was a bochur and I was a child, there was no dancing by the Chadei. Then after I know the Gimel Tammuz, then when I was a bochur, sorry, when I was a child, not when I was a bochur, then they started to dance as much as possible. The Mashiach's coming, dancing, started dancing. So then it became a thing that the Chadei did their dance. Now, the way it was originally is that when they were singing, they were singing. When the Chadei was over, there was no dancing. Then they started dancing it became Obat Yechid. So now as the bochur in Kiryat Gat in the yeshiva, so the mashpia, when the bochur were singing Yechid, and they danced Yechid, it was very nice. But then over the years, the population changed, and the bochur in the yeshiva didn't sing Yechid anymore, but they continued dancing. So the mashpia stopped it. So stam dancing with all dam, not kesher. Yechid is a besanders. Yechid is a special Indian, but stam dancing doesn't make sense. So that's my opinion as well. I hear bochum like to dance, and also the approach is that let the bochum let out some energy. It's a very, very not. It's fine, but yeah, but you're thinking about Mashiach and you're dancing for Mashiach, or you're dancing because you're drunk and you want to have fun. It's the problem with usually the guys that are pushing for it are the guys that are not coming from a Mashiach perspective. They don't live with Mashiach. They didn't wake up this morning for Chasidos and learn the whole day and daven and koch and gul Mashiach. They rolled out of the bed, 2-3 hours ago. They drank something. Now they're coming to that. Yeah.
What if you're drinking in order to dance more?
That's a goy. That's a goy. You don't drink to dance. You don't drink to dance. You say l'chaim a little bit. You don't drink to dance.
No, not specific.
All right. Yeah. Simchas Torah is different. Simchas Torah is a mitzvah to dance. Simchas Torah is the mitzvah. The minig hayoim, that's quoted all over Yisrael Chaim. Please be quiet. In the Simchas Torah is unique that there's an India to dance. We have a tradition, 48 hours of dancing as much as you can. Huh? You don't drink on Simchas Torah to dance. You don't do that. Yisrael Chaim, please stop it. L'mayla b'tam v'das doesn't come from mashke. That's l'mata b'tam v'das. L'mayla b'tam v'das comes from chassidus. You say l'chaim by Simchas Torah, but the Rebbe says the Rebbe more than 4 applies to Simchas Torah as well. Adarabah. Let's find that the lowest of those connected to the highest of the high. But the pashtus, the way Simchas Torah is supposed to be, a bochur says a little bit l'chaim by a fabrengen, and then he dances a kofet as much as he can. But to stop and drink the whole time to get yourself more fuel to further dancing, I think is goyish. Okay, so that's something else. You have to get the people inspired, and you feel down because you didn't do a coffee yesterday. So now you have to get yourself in a positive mood. And you know, Ram says, that's an emergency. So that's an emergency. Yisrael Chaim for the 17th time. Please stop it. For emergency situation, things are different. But in a regular case, you shouldn't be saying l'chaim by dancing. That's what I think. Okay, done? Yeah, light it. Yaakov is ready to move on to the next question. Yeah, we're not done. Yes?
Yes. And that was the question. Was it that we dance like
Huh? What? Mixing up a one-time story that he was in the pit and the malach came and taught him how to dance with a dancing beard to become a whole minute. There's no such thing as a shpola zedach siddim. No such thing as a dynasty shpola zedach. There were stories of dancing that it was a special time to dance. Ma Kesher. When it comes at the right time, we also have our dancing. The way Chassidim dance also, we dance with our hands on the shoulders. We don't dance like the Peilisha. We dance differently. But when we dance, when do we dance? By Simchas Torah, by Simchas Sheyeva. You want to say Dal Kista, you want to say Chedesh Adar. What? They don't dance randomly. So you're asking, why don't we make up Sahol Chabad steps? Okay, Ches and Beis and Dalit. What do you want? They over the years they developed dances. The Mikla had a Kapelia. They might have had special dances. I don't know. They danced the Torah. Yeah. Like Yemenite. Oh, the Yemenites. It's Tat Hemanit. If you want, I can teach you how to dance like a Temanit. I know the Tat. You know the Tat Hemanit. All right, next question. Does sliced mushrooms from Walmart need a hechsher? Bechlal, any sliced fruit and vegetables. So it depends on the prep. That's the word that they use in the kitchen industry. The preparation depends how the prep works. If you have a kitchen where you have over there treifa items, and you also have vegetables, and they're using one knife or knives to cut everything, obviously there's a problem, there's a residue that might be left on. Even then, it could be makel. However, in many places, when you're buying the cut up mushrooms in Walmart that are prepackaged, these places, b'derech klal, it's one company that just produces mushroom and cuts them, and they have knives just for that. In that case, there's no problem. B'derech klal, the cut up kind of stuff. If you have packaged fruit and packaged stuff like that in a store, then you have to find out where are they cutting it. So some places that have very clearly designated areas for cutting fruits and vegetables, and other places where they cut other things. However, sometimes it's more or less mixed. I was just listening to one of these kashrus shiurim, and the guy was saying that went in, and there are people that are allergic to fish. Fish is an allergy, but meat is not an issue of allergies. So in one of these places, because they had the knives or whatever, the kitchen where they cut up the fruits and vegetables was a problem there. So they're not going to go into the fish department because there's allergies. So they went into the meat department and they're cutting it up, but in the same counter that they're cutting up the treifa meat. So that could happen. So you have to just be aware of the situation and how it is. If it's prepackaged, the mushrooms in Walmart do not need a hechsher because they're with the companies that just do mushrooms. There's nothing else there. And even if there would technically be something there, but pashas will be bottled because over time these things, after the first to second cut, it cleans itself. Two questions about the same thing about certain bochur and why is the same bochur always being chazan? It's because we have a seder in the yeshiva where every bochur has a date that he's supposed to be chazan. And unfortunately, some bochurim are uncomfortable being chazan, and they always go to the guy that doesn't mind to do so. And I just want to use the opportunity to say, the Rebbe wants bochurim to be chazan. The Rebbe wants everyone to know how to be chazan. Pasha, I think the Rebbe told Rabbi Shustim and Pasha mincha. And there are some bochurim that have no clue how to be chazan. There are bochurim that were never chazan in their lives, or they were chazan maybe the night of the bar mitzvah one time, but they don't know b'chlal where you're supposed to start and stop, and what are you supposed to say when you're chazan, and that's not an issue. You know, so ledugma. Many bochurim when they're chazan, they don't know that by chazoras hashatz, when you're done, after you're saying the bracha, baruch atah Hashem, and baruch Hashem Yisrael b'sholem, you have to say the pasuk Gil Ratzin Mifi. Quietly to yourself, very good. But what happens is many people when they're chazan, they say it so quickly and quietly that you think they didn't say it, and then other people don't know they're supposed to say it b'chlal. That's one example of many where people that are chazan, they don't know what they're supposed to say, what they shouldn't say. So every bochur has to try to be chazan, and if it's your turn to be chazan, bochurim are always afraid because I don't know, say the words clearly, was going to laugh at me. So you should know that nobody listens to the chazan besides me. And I'm not going to laugh at you. I'll come over to you later and tell you what the mistakes are, if there are mistakes. And I don't know you just come over every time. No one listens to the chazan. It's perfectly fine. No one pays attention to you. Just get up and be chazan. If it's your turn, do not go over to the bochur that always agrees, to the bochur that always agreed to be chazan, because even though for the yeshiva system it's Baruch Hashem working, but for yourself, everyone should be chazan from time to time. It's important. You should be comfortable doing it. Yes.
Great value mushrooms.
Whoa.
Because that's like,
If it's fresh mushrooms cut up, it's fine. If it's in a can, it becomes a different shiloh. Was it what was added preservatives and ices?
just like the company when they
I mean the company. I meant the fresh ones, the ones that are open and fresh. That's a blue container and plastic covered over. Those are fine. The ones that are in the cans, that's a different story. That probably needs a hechsher. I didn't look into them.
Great Valley makes a lot of stuff.
Great value doesn't make anything. I mentioned about it in the past. Great value is private labeling. First of all, great value and best value is the same thing, just to show how false the world of marketing is. Walmart, they go to a company that makes rice, yeah? So I said they do private labeling. So Walmart does two private labeling. One they call it great value, one they call it best value, the exact same thing, the exact same company. The difference is what the colors of the package are. Now, someone comes to the Walmart and buys the same rice every week. We tell them, oh, there's a new rice on the shelf. Hey, it's the same price, let me try it. And I'll buy two of those. That's what happens. Everyone drinks coffee, Taster's Choice. Taster's Choice coffee, they have their same symbol with every package for years. A couple of years ago, they put like a purplish and a tinge. It's purple. Let's buy the exact same coffee. But that's how people are. People are chitzonius, and that's what we go for. Great value best, just to point that out, big hechsher. But Walmart doesn't make its own mushrooms. They go to a company that makes mushrooms. They say, let's put the great value on it, let's put the best value on it, and we'll charge extra 5 cents for this, and put another color on that one. It's all the same mushrooms that have nothing to do. Okay, a couple of heavy questions over here. Should we start a heavy question, or should we go on to my
Heavy question.
Okay, we'll do one of the heavy questions now, and then we'll go. The question is, how do we know Judaism is the truth? This is a very, very important question. How do we know Judaism is the truth? There's a number of ways of approaching the answer. I like to answer this question by asking, how do you know that you're not adopted? I am. Most children, look at my siblings. Most children go through at least some stage in their lives where they wonder, am I adopted or not? And most people, so maybe you're all adopted together. My point is like this. My point is that there's a number of answers why you know you're not adopted. First of all, it just makes sense. I look like my parents, and that's one thing. Then there's the fact that they take care of me, so it must be that Then there's pictures, but you've never heard of AI. I can make AI pictures of Photoshop and make up pictures. There's other things like that. Then but there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of proofs that you can have. But what? DNA is not necessarily 100% accurate, and you can play around with that too. There are stories of twins with the different DNA. Two twins made the same DNA testing, and one was like half Sephardi, and one was like 3/4 Taimani. The things are not accurate, especially with AI today. Forget it. Now no one trusts anything. So the reason why you know you're not adopted is because I know, because these are my parents. It's not because of a cheshbon. It's not because of calculation. It's because I just know. Maybe adopted. Fine, maybe. I know I'm not. Now that's the correct answer. When it comes to Yiddishkeit, so there's options. You can come to it from many different proofs. You can come to proofs that we have this tradition going back 2,000 years. You can come to the fact that Yidden all over the world are behaving the same way. You can use it as a proof as the fact that so many people are becoming Jewish, so many non-Jews are coming Jews. Of course, we have, unfortunately, the other way also, but the turnover is a lot more this direction than the other direction. With a lot more non-Jews becoming Jews than Jews, so that must mean that it's true. But those are all nice answers, and each one can be studied for itself. What exactly is the proof, and what are the statistics and all that? But the correct answer is, I know that it's true because I know that it's true. Because I have a feeling, I have a neshama that senses that this is the way it is. My neshama, I have a neshama inside me. And if you don't feel your neshama, which can often happen, for that you have to learn Hasidus. And Hasidus reveals your neshama, and then that's how you know that it's the truth, not because you understand. I want to finish with one story, then we'll go to Maya, then we'll take a question later. It was after Yud Shvat, there was a discussion about who's going to be the next Rebbe, right? The Rebbe had two sons-in-law. Some people felt that maybe the older son-in-law could be worthy, but the Chassidim understood that our Rebbe. But the story was that Avram Pardiz was once by a meeting, and there was a discussion, maybe the Rasha, and he said, the Proim, the Rebbe is the Rebbe. Of course, the Rebbe is the Rebbe. That's it. And Rabbi Shimon kept saying that also. Because it's the truth. It's a gut feeling. You can also learn all the other cheshbonis, and it's important to learn that. And if you want to talk about that more, put them in the Q&A for next time. But the correct answer is what we said.